Hello, hello! My name is Jordyn, and I am your host. And today, as you can see, or you don't see if you're listening to this audibly, as you can see, we have a guest today. Her name is Aubrey Nicole, and we are super excited to talk about today's topic. We'll be diving a little bit into love and heartbreak, but before all of that, just to give a short, brief introduction, Aubrey is our guest today. She is a podcast host as well, our first ever podcast host, which is really cool. And she is the host of Life Talks with Aubrey Nicole, and you guys should definitely check it out because it's so cute, and she talks about a lot of just like really important topics, such like we do on this podcast too. So yeah, she is also a business owner, which is really cool. So yeah, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit more, you can go ahead and do so.
Sure, thank you, Jordyn. So my name is Aubrey Nicole. I'm the podcast host of Life Talks with Aubrey Nicole podcast. So the podcast circulates more about like life lessons in maybe career, academics, self-development, relationships and friendships and the like. So every week I talk to different people from different walks of life, different places, sharing their stories, and also like what can we gather from those stories and learn life. Aside from that, I'm very passionate about intellectual property and research as well as innovation, so that's what keeps me busy. And I'm also a co-owner of Infinite Bliss Souvenir and Gift Shop. So yeah, that's pretty much some of like the things that I'm doing, and I'm so excited to discuss this very relevant and significant topic.
Absolutely. And if you guys check out her podcast, we also filmed an episode on her podcast. So yeah, that's really cool. It was absolutely great episode about self-improvement and just self-growth in general. So yeah, I was definitely excited to come on your podcast, and now we're here. So yeah, it was awesome. So just to give a brief introduction of the episode, as you guys know, as I like to do, so today's episode we're going to be focusing a lot on love and also the heartbreak, which I feel like is often not talked about. So I love that we're getting a little bit into that within this episode. So we're first going to be talking about just the different types of love you encounter, like the certain characteristics, how you feel, maybe even time frames, like your age at those points in time. We'll also just be diving into how to cope with heartbreak, because a lot of people don't talk about it, as I said, and a lot of people don't really know how to cope with it when it comes to actually feeling it, because I know I've been through my fair share of heartbreaks and it's an awful experience. So I would love to share our knowledge on it, and lastly we'll be talking a little bit about prioritizing yourself after heartbreak, because when we were planning this episode I kind of just thought like I mean, while you're going through heartbreak you can blame yourself a lot, and that's a very horrible feeling or very horrible thoughts to have. So I really wanted to talk about prioritizing yourself, and of course Aubrey will share her fair share on that as well. So yeah, that's what this episode is going to be all about. And before we get started with that, all of my old listeners know we do have a pre-topic segment called Rose Thorn Bud. But if you are a new listener, a rose thorn bud is basically when you're talking about your rose, which is a highlight, success, small win, or something that happened today or within the last week. A thorn is a challenge you experienced or something you could use more support with. And lastly, a bud is some new ideas that have blossomed or something that you're looking forward to knowing more about or experiencing. So yeah, with that being said, Aubrey, if you want to go ahead and tell us your rose thorn bud, that would be awesome.
Yeah, this is exciting. It's kind of interesting. So for me, rose, something, I think it's like one of the the highlight of our week is that we launched and expanded our business, and unfortunately it's becoming, because we serve party supplies and souvenirs to the whole US, so now it's booming. And I think like having your mindset, the growth of like expanding your business, catering to more people, that's like little wins, step by step, helping more people. That's like my rose. My thorn is, I think, because like as I've talked to you before, like I'm currently like 29 weeks pregnant, so I need like a supportive like advices about like motherhood, about like navigating around those new phase of my life. But the bud is new ideas and experiences, probably it's about, parenthood, looking forward, about like having the baby, learning things, because like what we've mentioned, it's like our lives is a series of like learning experiences. So that's something I think. That's my rose, thorn, and bud.
Awesome. I think that just hearing about like the journey towards motherhood is just like really inspiring. Like, I feel like this is going to be a new chapter in your life, and it's going to be absolutely great, even though, everything comes with ups and downs, but I'm super happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just to talk a little bit about my rose, thorn, bud, a highlight of this week has to be just being able to be not bedridden. As Aubrey knows, I have been having a lot of medical issues in regards to like my hip area / pelvic area, and it's just been no bueno. And so I really am just glad to be up and moving and feeling less pain. A thorn is I still don't know why I'm having these pains. Like, I was prescribed medication for it, but it's still happening. Like, there's a lot of pain still after taking the medication, so still trying to get down to the cause of it just so I can take better care of myself. And lastly, a bud would probably be Valentine's Day tomorrow. Because we were just talking about it before, but I'm super excited for Valentine's Day. Like, we are both like cheesy romantics, and like, I'm just super excited. And of course, yeah, for sure. And in the spirit of Valentine's Day, we will do Love and Heartbreak, which by the time this episode is out, it'll be past Valentine's Day, but just be happy for us that Valentine's Day is tomorrow.
It's still love month.
Right, exactly. So yeah, let's just get right into this episode, like the core topics of this episode. As I said, we'll be talking a little bit about just the different types of love we can encounter throughout our life. So first, we want to talk a little bit about puppy love / first love, whatever you want to call it. So have you ever experienced that sort of puppy love in your lifetime?
Yeah, I do. These are like the moments where you like go back to your memory lane, and you'll kind of like in your like pre-teens or teen stage. Then I think those moments, it's more of like leaning towards like an infatuation, but because it's cool and innocent love, it's because like you haven't felt that before. You kind of have to like assume right away that, oh my god, it's like love that I'm feeling. Yeah. And then like it's going back, I remember it's like, oh, it's you always wanted to be like your best going there, like you want to see that person, you count signs, you look at like magazines, like 10 signs to know if that person likes you, or like, is that like a stare or a hi means something. Yeah. Like I can remember those things. So yeah, those are like my experience. But this puppy love and first love, it's kind of like a different feel because it's the first time. You kind of like look forward, you get to be like sometimes conscious about like your actions, but then there are also times that you just like passing by the corridor, you see that person that you like, it's just like, it's okay, it's enough for you to fill your day with happiness. Right. So I think those are just some instances or occurrences that I remember that I dealt with those puppy love and / first love.
Yeah, I think when you mentioned like the little articles about just like 10 signs that they like you, I remember there was this website, I forgot what website it was, but every time I searched up like do they like me quiz, that website would come up. I would take like every single quiz on that website that's like, do they like me, how do they feel about you, and it's like, oh my god, they like me. Those sort of thoughts
sometimes you drink about it because you're always thinking about it.
Right.
And then sometimes you also like put it on your diary. You're like, dear diary, I saw this, like the person that I like, and then like he stares at me. I don't know if like he wanted to talk to me or something like that. So those are some stuff that I can remember as well.
I think the most important like part of puppy love / first love for me was just like that sort of feeling of just like absolute happiness every single day. Like I felt like everything that I was concentrating on was that person, not in a like obsessive way, but sort of just like, oh my god, I like them so much that I have to think about them all the time, and every little thing that they do is just absolutely mesmerizing. Like, even if they burp, I'll be like, huh, so cute. And it was funny for me. What was the sort of best part of puppy love that you can remember?
I think the best part of it is like knowing that you're actually, you're feeling the happiness, like you said, the bliss, and like the thrill of seeing that person. You get to be inspired. You kind of learn how to like, be the best version of yourself. Like you kind of like dress up, you kind of like have like perfume and stuff like that. It's like something that actually train you and help you to actually have more confidence to yourself and putting your best foot forward. That's one thing. And for me also, like having the realization you're capable of that feeling, that you feel that one, and then when you go back, you kind of laugh sometimes because like I didn't expect that I was gonna do that. Like I'm gonna wait in the corridor and like want to see him or stuff like that, or see your crush. It's like it's a fun time. It's a fun memory to go back to. But at least that's the start of you knowing the version of love. Because as you grow older, your vision and your perspective about love grows, like it became better. You can see like different angles. But this is like the start. It's a stepping stone towards learning the totality of love. So I think that's the highlight for me in this phase.
Absolutely. I think every day that I knew I was gonna see this person, I was just like, oh my god, I have to look my best. So it was amazing, honestly. I think for me though, it was very, very short-lived. I don't know if, so I see you can relate to that. It was so short-lived. Like it would be just like at least 2 weeks to a month, and then I'll be like, okay, well, next person to have this sort of feeling with. That's how it was for me, at least.
Yeah, it's like it's something that you get attracted to that person because of a certain characteristic or gesture. Or there are some times that, like based on my friends my classmates before, they get like have a crush or infatuation to that person because they're always together, they're group mates, they're doing a project, and then something because. Being in school, there's a lot of like activities, organizations, subjects and courses, so you get to like lean towards a different like interest or hobby, or sometimes like this part also, when you saw someone talking to that person, you get like kind of like jealous or hurt, or you get to be like distracted and stuff. And there are times that might be the reason like, oh, he's talking to someone else, and I don't have any shot with it or anything, then I'm just gonna go and just like move on. There are different many factors, but it's short-lived.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I definitely relate, especially to the talking to the other person. It would just be like any person that I'm like remotely like jealous of. It's just like, oh my god, I'll never have a chance. It's funny. I think a lot of the things, or when we're talking about puppy love, we're kind of just like sort of talking or thinking about like that person on a pedestal, like having like prioritizing the sort of vision that you have of that person rather than like who that person actually is. Because I've had a lot of different like puppy love sort of crushes that are just like really like unjust when I think about it in the past, because I've had crushes on multiple people, and then there was just like the person that I thought was a complete like absolute horrible person afterwards, and then looking back on that crush, it was like, wow, they are really not who I thought they were. So it's kind of just like looking at one side, or looking at what you want that person to be, as far as puppy love goes. Do you ever have that sort of like, do you agree, I guess?
Yes, I certainly do, because like because this is the first phase of love that a person experiences, and then because that also like relates to when you watch, because during those teenager years you kind of watch movies, you see the happy ever after, you see these movies that there's this perfect dream guy, and then you kind of like apply it in your scenario in one way or another, and you always see the good in that, the good angle in that person. But then when you kind of like lower down and go to transition to a different phase of love, then you'll realize and see, your eyes gets open about the things that, oh, this is not the only aspect that I should look into in terms of like a person. There's more to that than just like physical looks, being cool or being unique, or that certain thing that you like. For example, oh my gosh, so his hair is like Edward Cullen and stuff. I remember that one. I remember my time because I was like so into like, I don't know, like it's like, oh, Edward Cullen, like, oh, look, his hairs look like Edward Cullen. And going back, I was like, oh gosh, like why? It's funny, but you question, but at least you learn that like there's more to that looks than like, you know, being sometimes like the talk of the town, being that campus heartthrob and stuff like that. So like I agree with you. That's the reason why it's short-lived, because it's just that you only see one side of it. And when then you discover like the bad side or like the flaws or imperfection, it's just that like maybe I see, oh, maybe you kind of realize that maybe this is something that is not really like constant. It goes out through time, or maybe like it just faded off, like the feelings fade, because this is not like true love. It's just like infatuation. So that's one thing like I also realized, that it's like, and it feels love, but in reality it's like an infatuation. Right. That you learn from, and then you learn from it. Well, that's what important. You learn something out of it before you transition into the next kind of love in your life.
Absolutely. Definitely agree with all that. I think puppy love oftentimes, because it is short-lived, you don't normally get with the person, but if you do establish that sort of relationship with the person and you both are infatuated with each other, then it can sort of like be kind of sad, because like you said, you only see that one side of the person and you refuse to see all sides. Well, not refuse, but you don't acknowledge that there are other sides. So when you do get into a relationship, which is something that is serious, and you can get to see more of the person, get to know more of the person, open up to that person, it's kind of just like, wow, you are not what I imagined, actually. And then it's kind of just like that sort of thrill or that sort of like excited feeling kind of just fades away, and it's like, I guess I didn't really like you like that. It was just kind of just like a short-lived infatuation, pretty much.
It's like it's pre-teens or teens. There's a lot of changes and then growth in your life. Right. So you're not the same person as you are on like when you're a teenager, because you learn from life. You did realize things. So that's also like the plot twist there. You gotta like, you get to evolve and transform to a different kind of person, a different characteristics, you know, with the improvement. You kind of like look things not just on that side, but you kind of like open your mind into different possibilities. So that's also one thing. But there are like, you know, we're not crossing the possibility that there are instances like, because we all write our own love story, and like our stories are like movies. Sometimes there's plot twists. It doesn't mean that first love never worked or puppy love never worked. There are times that person, their puppy love is like the one that married you at the end of the day, but it's not almost all the case. It's just like very rare, or there are like a percentage of people. Or maybe like they kind of like separate ways, and then for some reason fate kind of like lead them back together 10 years or what, when they're like working or whatsoever, and that kind of like evolves into something.
Right. I love when that happens, honestly. It's so cute. But I think, I think it just depends on how sort of like adaptable, I meant to say, that person is. Because if that feelings of puppy love sort of fades, then it's kind of just like, okay, now I have to adjust to seeing all sides and whether I really want to pursue this relationship, because like my puppy love has faded and sort of my view has adjusted. And yeah, that's when it kind of leads to like people being married for years and met like in high school, and then again married for years, and just being adaptable and being like mature enough to see that sort of,
it grows into another form.
Right. Exactly. So just to move on a little bit, I think we can talk a little bit about loving someone from a distance, because I think like puppy love can also be loving someone from a distance as well.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not like, that kind of thing is like when you like that person, but it's okay for you to see that person happy.
Right.
I think this is applicable in like teens, young adults, or until like the normal, like when you're adulting 101. Because like loving someone from a distance is that like maybe you guys are friends and you just love that person, but you know that that person doesn't love you the same amount of love or the same kind of love that the way you love him or her. And it's kind of hard because sometimes you can't tell how you feel. It's just people they're different people with different confidence or like levels of like how they express their love. And that this is something, it's like probably like a secret admirer, I think I remember. That's one form of loving someone from a distance. You just admire or support that person. Probably, let's say when you're like in school, you like this person, that person is part of a play or a concert, and you're just gonna attend and like cheer, support that person on that movie or on that presentation. Or sometimes it's also like you supporting and like being there for them, a shoulder to cry on, like a best friend being there. But it's just kind of like sometimes it's hard because like you don't want to ruin the friendship.
Yeah,
you're the best friend. So those are like those are things that became more complicated as time goes by. It might be applied on like the puppy love when you admire someone from a distance, but this kind of love doesn't just focus on the puppy love. It can be in different kinds of love. And as you go on different kinds of love, this loving someone from a distance became much more complicated.
Yeah,
and complex.
Absolutely. I think honestly that can be like a moment, like I know that previously we talked about puppy love being like somewhere in the preteens and teens range, but the reason why I think it's more in the teen/adult range is because you become more mature and you become like more open to different types of love, as you said, and just like adjusting that sort of view that this person is a person with all sorts of personality traits and I want to know more about them, but I just can't, so I have to love them from a distance. And it's kind of just like, again, maturing more into love, and it sucks. It sucks to say the least. I think this could also happen with like popular people as well. Maybe like if you're just like this shy kid and then there's this popular person where you really want to know them and you're just like really shy about it and you just don't know how to approach them, so you're like, oh man.
Yeah, it's like you feel like, oh, I don't have any chance for this person or something like that, or you're kind of like, I'm scared of being rejected, so I'm just gonna like stay here, stare at you, like admire from a distance.
Yeah.
But one thing I learned from that, and also one thing I learned from like is my friends, because for me, the learning about love for me is like based from my experience, but at the same time based from how I see it from my friends and my family, different kinds of love they kind of talk about, they kind of show. So I was like thinking, sometimes in life, loving someone from a distance may work, but you will never know how that person feels for you, if he or she feels the same way, unless like you kind of like stood up there and like take a risk and say how you feel.
Absolutely.
Because you're just gonna end up with so much what ifs. Like maybe until a few years from now you're gonna say, what if I really talked to that person? And or like start a conversation. I think starting a conversation, being friends with that person, if like you're just admiring from a distance, is not bad, or like trying to know that person more,
right?
Because at least you tried your best and you did something to actually like level up, not just from a distance but have a connection and like a relationship or network to that person, which will in fact make you much more aware of like how that person is from inside out. Like not just the physical features, but the attitude, the perspective in life, if it really matches you, or if there's really a spark, as they say.
Yeah. It really is just about navigating. If you do like open up and start a conversation with this person, it's really just navigating of whether like this person is kind of like who you really want to be with, or if they're just good friends. And either way, it can turn out good, because if you are like ended up being friends with them, you can have like a best friend for life. So it's nice. I think also tying into like loving someone from a distance, you can also just like imagine like somebody who is already in a relationship, for example, and be in that sort of space of like, wow, I can't try to pursue them because they're in a relationship, or they can't try to pursue me because they're in a relationship. And I feel like that also ties into just like unrequited love and how that can feel, which is horrible. Honestly, the worst type of love in existence for me personally. What sort of experiences do you have with unrequited love, if any?
Well, I don't have any like specific experiences of like unrequited love, because like my love story with my husband is kind of like different. We started out as friends, so that's the foundation, and that's also like what I think as a good foundation when you started as friends. And then, but this unrequited love, you know, it's one thing that people should be cognizant about, that love is not just like butterflies in the stomach, like a happy ending, or like happy all the time. You know, like you get thrilled, you get like really nervous sometimes and stuff like that. There are versions of love that unfortunately you'll feel in the journey of your life that's like this. It sucks, it's sad, but then you get you get hurt, you kind of like go into the phase that you can't have that person because that person belongs to someone else,
right?
Something like that. So this unrequited love for me is something that will actually it's painful if you view it, but it will actually make you better and braver, and it will show you a different face of love that you should be aware of in your journey.
Right.
So, for example, you will learn your boundaries and limits, like what you've said. Like when that person that you like is already committed to someone else, so you love that person from a distance, and at the same time, you just actually support them or whatever they want. You wish them to be happy. I remember I was like making I think a poem or like an article about this, and then they said that I saw this kind of like metaphor in social media in an article too, where it said like sometimes in life you met a person, and then you guys are just like intersecting line. You just like destined to meet each other, learn something from each other, but then separate ways. But at least you learn something from each other. Right. So I think this is like the sad part of like the person, because of course all of us wants to be loved and wants to give so much love to a person, but there are instances that person cannot like reciprocate the kind of love we're willing to give, or doesn't even if they wanted to, they can't, because you can't really like dictate the feelings of a person.
Right.
So there's so many factors with this one, and like I get sad too, like even if imagine you seeing these things in movies that's happening, and then now in real life seeing that person or like even feeling that thing, it's sad. But at the end of the day, looking at the silver lining, you learn something from it. And
absolutely.
You get stronger and braver.
Absolutely. A lot of the times, I love how you say you can get stronger and braver, because I feel like a lot of the times it can be like, oh, this person's in a relationship or they have a crush on somebody else, but there's also other times when you just don't feel like brave enough or want to start that sort of action or motion, but then you kind of just be like, okay, I'm tired of feeling like this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna be bold, and that's the greatest part about it. Or you can say, okay, well, I know that last time I didn't approach that person and that was really painful for me, so next time I can try my best to be braver or have more courage and, you know, ask that person out if you want to do that, or tell them that you like them, you know, all that sort of things. And there are very, very different types of unrequited love that you can just see like throughout your sort of lifetime. There is just an unrequited love that's just like longing for physical touch. If you want to cuddle somebody, because I know there's no moments that I'm like, dang, I wanna cuddle with somebody so bad. Or there's just like the one-sided contact or unrealistic perfect views, you know, which can also lead into puppy love. And there's also just the mutual attraction between people, or they're in other relationships, which I feel like is a very complicated situation, because if you have a crush on somebody and they're in a relationship and you're in a relationship, it's kind of like, this is complicated, and it can also lead to a lot of drama, and that's also where it leads to the unrequited love, and just the desire for an ex after a relationship ends, which is also a horrible situation, which it isn't bad to miss your ex, but continually going back to your ex or seeing your ex move on can be very damaging mentally. So
yeah, or sometimes like you're the one who can't reciprocate the love that the other person is like feeling for you. Like you view that person just as a friend or as a best friend, which also happens to me before. Like I view that person as like a friend, but that person like feels a different way, like wanting to have like a relationship or like a couple, but you can't because you can't really like dictate your heart. Like that feeling is like something that comes out like naturally for you. You feel that one, and that's also a difficult and a tough time, because you don't want to destroy the friendship. You just wanted to maintain it. So it's really good. Like for me, I'm fortunate that when that happens, we still stayed friends, even if like can't reciprocate the kind of love that he's capable of giving, because we started as friends, so we know that through the years, like we've been friends. It's good that we get to be friends still, because you don't want to lose someone like important to you as a friend when like things didn't work out. Something that's a different kind of like
yeah, I have definitely been in those situations before, and it's such an unfortunate feeling, because either you are just like guilty about it because you've experienced unrequited love and just like, dang, I'm really putting this person in this position, or like you wish that you could return feelings but you just can't, or in some cases when friendships are destroyed because romantic feelings are involved and not reciprocated, it can be very painful, but overall, again, you can learn from it or try to grow from it, as we're forever blooming.
I think they call it friend zone. Sometimes it's been friend zone.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And it's awful, but like it's not like you can do anything about it. Like everybody talks about the friend zone as if it's just like this really, really horrible thing, because of course it is painful, but you can't really force somebody into a relationship. So like if you try to pursue a relationship and the other person doesn't feel the same, then that's just gonna hurt worse. So I mean,
I always remember my mother telling me, like, in relationships, Nicole, it takes two to tango. So it just isn't like you like dancing on like the ballroom or something. It like takes two. It's like it's a give and receive, not just like give.
Right.
So you have to make sure that you got 100% of your love, and that person also loves you, so that it will work, because it will exhaust you, and it
absolutely.
If you give everything and that person doesn't give anything, or give half-hearted, then that's gonna like spur into different kinds of problems and issues, and it will not work out.
Absolutely. And it's just definitely more painful for you in the long run. So if you feel like the person isn't 100% into you or willing to, I guess, have an interest in you, first of all, then you should definitely try not to pursue that relationship, because again, that's just painful. We do not want a relationship where it isn't mutual, it isn't equal. But as we are talking about all of these just unfortunate type of loves, of course we have to cover healthy love, mature love, the best kind of love, in my opinion. So I know that you said you were talking about your husband, so what is that how do you see healthy love within your own relationship?
Yeah, like for me, the healthy and mature love, it's a different kind of love that really brings out the best in you and makes you also learn as time goes by. That one thing I realized, and actually this is a popular quote, which is like, falling in love is easy, but staying in love is not.
Right.
When you actually, because from the phases that we had, like for example, my husband, we become friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, then become like engaged, and then like get married. On those different phases, our love for each other gets stronger and better, but at the same time, discovering the things, the attitude, the characteristics of each other makes us realize that this love is a mature love because you accept all the imperfections, the flaws, the good side and the bad side. You understand each other. You kind of like try to change yourself for the better. And you actually walk towards journeying about being the better version of yourselves because of each other. So that's one thing. And also, like, as time goes by, you realize that every day it's like choosing to love that person over and over again, no matter what. In the healthy and mature love, it's not just like the bed of roses. You are sometimes in the bed of nails because there's challenges towards it. There's you know, like tough times, problems. That problems can spread into like different kinds of problems. There's gonna be like arguments, and there's gonna be like, you know, conflicts. There are some perspectives where you don't agree. You know, arguments and fights can go to small and big fights. You talk like you argue about small things like what will you cook today, and then there are some arguments that kind of build up as time goes by. But out of all of that, one thing I learned, and also like I take the advice of my mother saying, like, when you're in a conflict or in a problem, it should be you, my husband's name Ricky, you and Ricky versus the problem. It's not you versus Ricky. So when you have a problem, you guys have to work together to fix that problem. And then she also said to me, like, you know, at every single day when you wake up, you always have to like look at that person and find so many reasons why you still love that person, and always work things out. Never give up. So that's for me. I know I talk a lot because it's just something I'm so happy about. It's because, you know, it's all worth it. The waiting of like finding this healthy and mature love through the years, it's all worth it when you find it, and you always like want to make sure that you nourished it. It's like a plant.
Yeah.
And that seed that you planted, you have to like really like water it, love it. You know, words of affirmation also help. It's not just this is what you call like when you have this kind of love, you explore different kinds of love languages. You just don't settle for one. You also make sure you nurture it, because it's gonna be everlasting if you each other, both of you, nurture it. So that's the thing. I'm so happy. That's the thing.
I love your view on it, honestly. I think a lot of the time when we do experience this type of love, which is often in your adult years and onwards, but can be before, but when we do experience this type of love, it's kind of just like, again, as you said, each day you're trying to work through every single thing that you can together. You can definitely not have a healthy relationship if one person is doing the work and the other person is just like, nah. So, yeah, I love that. And I think there's also just like an aspect of like, also just acknowledging that you two are your own person, but also just coming together to make something more beautiful and more loving and more trustworthy is amazing. So yeah.
And that's one thing too, yeah. That there are times that when you're in, like, for example, us in our marriage, we are cognizant about the fact that we grow apart in terms, like, if we were, for example, dealing with the things that we're passionate about, our hobbies, our careers, our work. We can grow individually, but we can also grow together. So we always also have to have time for ourselves, and also like give space to each other, and like support them in whatever like field he wants. If he wants like playing video games or doing stocks or stuff like that, then you support him and also allow him to enter in your world as well. Like, you know, explore each other's world. So I tried. No, I stopped playing video games. I tried because like I wanted to bond with him and also like, you know, try to know the things that he likes. And he also kind of like eventually wanted to know more about my podcasting or about like my passion about intellectual property. It's like also learning and tolerating each other, adjusting towards each other. When you kind of have that kind of like routine or momentum, I think it will work out. But it's not a straight line, very easy smooth path. There's also some like rocky roads in it, like ups and downs. You should be ready to face and be strong to actually face that one and never give up. I think that's it. If you want this kind of love really, and you're really sure that this is it, just like never give up and like give your best, give your 100% in terms of this kind of love.
Absolutely. I always admire when people are in like marriages that have lasted for like 40 years plus, because it's just like, man, that's a lot of hard work and dedication, and I love that. I think that's also another aspect of love, is just like realizing really how sort of mature you are, and when it comes to like facing difficulties, or when it comes to just like knowing that there are going to be hardships, but you can recover from these hardships, and you can even grow stronger in your relationship, which is also a lot of reasons why people don't think teens can fall in love, because a lot of people think that teens are just like in the phase, and because their brains are undeveloped, or they're just like in this state of puppy love. But it can occur in teens, but it just depends on their level of maturity. But even if you aren't a teen, it really just depends on how ready you are to face these battles, or if you even want a serious relationship. So yeah, a lot of the sort of characteristics as well, going a little bit in depth about healthy relationships, is just like, or if you aren't in a healthy relationship, I should say, you should know that there is just like a lack of self-happiness before happiness together, like we talked about, being separate but coming together stronger, and just like lack of compromise, lack of trust, poor communication, overly attached feelings. Codependency is a very, very real problem that a lot of people have in this day and age, and just thinking of unrealistic versions of love, just like, oh my god, love at first sight, or oh my god, I'm gonna love this person forever and it's gonna be happy ever after and there's gonna be no issues, you know. Those are the sort of signs that you can sort of experience when you are in a toxic relationship. But yeah, as we are diving a little bit into toxic relationships and just unhealthy relationships, it's important to know how to cope with heartbreak. Because if you are in a toxic relationship, then I won't say inevitably it will end in heartbreak, but there is a high chance that it will. So as far as just like getting over heartbreak, what has your sort of process been? Actually, no. Isn't your husband the first boyfriend you had, or no?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
that was my first boyfriend, and my last boyfriend.
Yeah. Well,
both of us actually. So I'm his first girlfriend, and then like, yeah, so it's funny, but then because you know, heartbreaks, even if like you feel it in different range or in different scenarios in your life, there's different kinds of heartbreaks, there's different kinds of gravity in terms, or like severity of heartbreaks. But heartbreaks is a universal experience that all of us experience and like have gone through in the different phases of our lives. Sometimes heartbreak is not only towards significant others, it's also losing someone you love, maybe a family, a friend, or something else. But because most people associate heartbreak as like failed relationship and stuff like that. But if you talk about that, one thing I learned about like heartbreaks is there's no way around it. You can't avoid it. You can't escape it. And there's no like a 24/7 recovery of it. It takes time. And the recovery depends on the kind of person. So if the person move on, let's say for a year or so, it doesn't mean that you actually move on that same time frame. It can be shorter, it can be longer. So it depends really on the person. And there are a lot of factors that contributes to that heartbreak or to that feeling. But one thing you have to realize is that your experience, your emotion is valid. In the popular saying, they say it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to feel that feeling and like realize that I am feeling this. You have to be open that this feeling is what I'm feeling right now. But like I remember you also said this one during the podcast when I interviewed you. There's always rainbow after rain.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. You always look at the silver lining. That there's always that things are getting better. You experience it, but you learn something out of it. So I think that's one thing I learned about heartbreaks. there's just like, you can't really avoid it. You get hurt. One popular quote that I think I can remember about heartbreak is like one movie. It's like, that's the thing about like pain, it demands to be felt. I think it's the full album story. So like, I think when you feel the pain or the heartbreak, that means you really love truly. You love, and you actually give your commitment, your dedication into that kind of relationship. So yeah, pretty much those are like my concepts or ideas about heartbreak.
I think you said that absolutely perfectly. And I love that you said it's really dependent on the person, because there's some people that are just like really stoic about it, like they act as if everything is okay, or they completely shut off all of their emotions, or they again go through that sort of process of dealing with heartbreak, like denial, crying, anger, confusion, acceptance, all of that. So it's really just dependent on who you are and how you cope with things. But most of all, as you said, it's important to acknowledge that there is pain there and that you can work through it. And even if you delay it, there's still going to be pain there. You're going to have to deal with it eventually. It
actually depends, because it doesn't mean that you're in a healthy, mature relationship you don't get hurt. Sometimes you also get hurt, maybe like in an argument. It's like little heartbreak, called like mini heartbreaks. So like sometimes you get hurt, maybe because of like the things that significant person said, but you work it out. So does it mean that, there's different kinds of heartbreaks, like what I said, gravity of heartbreaks, but you always actually to look after yourself too, like take care of your heart. There are sometimes that people, when they kind of experience heartbreak, they kind of like build a wall, and that they don't want to trust again, and they don't want to fall in love again. It really takes time, because being hurt is really hard. But I think one thing that people should actually realize and learn is that everyone goes through it, and do not stop yourself from loving again, because love is a wonderful feeling. So do not deprive yourself of giving a chance, because everyone deserves to be happy, everyone deserves to be loved. So don't put a wall in your heart. Try to open up and love again and explore love, because like you have time and you deserve to be loved, you deserve to be happy.
For sure. Absolutely. That was so inspiring. I love that. I think on the opposite hand of that, there are people who just like get really, really consumed by emotion, which is, I think it's a natural response, honestly. You can definitely get overly consumed, but I do think that there is a sort of balance between like completely shutting off your emotions and also just feeling it like completely and letting it take over everything, including your daily routine. So really just trying to find a balance. Like you can cry on some days, but try not to cry every day for continuously and let it interfere with your routine. So there is that sort of balance you have to sort of find for yourself. I think we can also just talk a little bit about like the sort of coping strategies when it comes to heartache and heartbreak. So for me personally, I know that when I actually went through those stages of heartbreak, it was very, very, very valuable for me to just rely on my friends about it and try and talk to them about it. Make sure, again, I'm not closing off, but openly communicating about my feelings, and also just finding ways to treat myself and making sure that I am taking care of myself in the process. So I don't forget that just because I'm going through heartbreak doesn't mean that I can't take care of myself, doesn't mean that I can't get through it. So, and that can be through just like maybe wearing a really cool outfit one day, or giving yourself a makeover, or really diving into your hobbies, watching Netflix and cry while eating ice cream. That's me all the time, because it's really nice to just eat the ice cream.
Makes me feel better, yeah.
Yeah, right. What sort of advice do you have about getting over heartbreak?
Well, there's a lot of advices that you can like give someone who's like having who experienced heartbreak, who is experiencing heartbreak. But one thing that they should put in mind is like, give yourself permission to cry and feel that feeling. Accept that feeling. Feel that one. The best thing you can do to yourself is also like to allow yourself to feel that one, so you know that the feeling is real. And also like do not like deny it, or do not like cover it up. If you want to cry, but not cry for like years or weeks or months. You should just cry your heart out, express it in a medium. Like if I'm upset, there's like I'm journaling, like writing my feelings out, or sometimes I'm singing my heart out in karaoke, or at home. As long as I'm not a nuisance to my neighbors, I'm singing. Or something like writing, drawing. If you want to eat food, like what you said, like then if you want to like pamper yourself and feel better, do it. But also, second thing is you take care of yourself. Because sometimes when a person is in the midst of like heartbreak or their conflicts or arguments, they kind of like forget taking care of themselves. They always like think about that person. Or sometimes they question themselves, like what I did wrong, or like what's wrong with me, what's missing there. It's like, don't do that, because it depletes you not just mentally, emotionally, psychologically. It's actually will like exhaust you. So always make sure that you actually put yourself first. Take care of yourself, because this is the moment wherein you actually need to actually love yourself more.
Absolutely.
And also, you have to actually think that this is not the end of it. This is just like a closing chapter in your life. But you have to look forward in like how you write your next story and your next chapter of your life. Make it more exciting, make it more like wonderful or fabulous. It kind of like, instead of it being like a distraction to you, make it as a motivation. That okay, this chapter ends, but this new one will be much greater. I learned my lessons. If you're like capable enough that sometimes it hurts, right? Like it hurts on the first phases and you can't, you don't wanna go back. But if you're like ready enough, you should like go back and look, okay, what happened? Why didn't it work out? And then now, when you're actually ready to mingle, date or find another find another relationship, you know already moving forward the points to ponder and the improvements that you have to do. So that's an important. You always when you get out of it, you're a much better version of yourself, that you're ready to kind of like have that kind of love that you really truly deserve.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing that I would like to like advise is do not enter into a rebound relationship just to forget. most like, even in movies, most people like, okay, I want to forget. I want to like, I want to show that other person that I move on easily, that it's his or her loss or whatever. Do not, because that will actually damage not just you, but the other person. Because you don't want to feel the same way that the person like felt, because like, you don't love that person 100%, and you're also viewing that person as your ex, right? Or you're just missing that person. So it becomes more chaotic because you're actually hurting someone else. You're hurting and you're also hurting someone else. And most of the time, it will not work out as well because you're not yet ready to give yourself completely, because you're still tied up with that past relationship. So it will create more problems in the future. So get into the relationship, a new relationship, do dating when you're ready and when you're 100% okay. When you're willing to give yourself to that person 100%, and you're not hurt, you don't have anger, you don't have like, hard feelings, so that you can like give yourself fully. And that will work. So that's just like my reminders and advices, I think.
I love that. Honestly, cannot agree more with everything that was said. I love that. I know that this was way before, like in the beginning, but I also love that you're just like, as long as it doesn't disturb my neighbor, that will take my heart out. I love that.
Sometimes it's not real that I like sing. Because music, like what I've told you before, like music kind of like transform my feelings to like something when I'm sad, when I'm happy. Like it gives me more happiness and joy to like sing, listen to music. And it's okay sometimes, to be emotional when you listen to like heartbreak songs from Adele or from Taylor Swift or from whoever you like, so you just wanted to listen to it. and one day just fill your heart out and say, do it. Do what makes you feel better. But after that, you gotta stand up, fix yourself, and, you know, go move on, because you deserve to be happy and you deserve the love that you deserve to have. So do not one failed relationship or a failed relationship define who you are. Just stand up and like move forward, and hey, be the best version of yourself. You want to like cut your hair and be like do makeover, do it. Most people do that. Or if you want to go on different hobbies, try something like cooking, you know, martial arts or whatsoever, do it. Be busy, but also take care of yourself. Do not like, because some people wanted to divert themselves and do a lot of activities so that they can think about it. But you just have to explore new things, but also don't forget to actually take care and love yourself. Because that's really like one of like the core foundation, how to be better and how to actually live a peaceful life. And to actually like move forward loving, not just yourself, not just other people. Because if you don't love yourself, how can you love other people? You should first love yourself. Because sometimes like that's what happens. We keep giving so much love to other people that we forgot loving ourselves. And at the end of the day, we kind of like question. We consume so much, we give so much, but we don't receive any. So try to just like love yourself. That's what, you know, self-love, self-care, love yourself.
Absolutely. And that definitely just leads into just prioritizing yourself after heartbreak. As you said, we need to love ourselves, empower ourselves, and just I am that person. I am the realest person. I am amazing, and I know that I just came out from a heartbreak and it was awful, but I can move on. I got this. And really just remember how much you are worth, because I think with me personally, I have had a lot of heartbreaks to which I was just like absolutely in shambles, thinking that I was a horrible person, that I could have did more, like I made the relationship suck and I was not worth another relationship. I wasn't worthy of love. But I know how easy it is to fall into that mindset, but trying to give yourself some room to breathe, as I always say, and always trying to acknowledge that you are more than this relationship. You have more capabilities to provide more love to other people, and you can provide more love to other people, and you are worthy of love, and you shouldn't be mad at yourself over this heartbreak. And as she said before, you can definitely begin again. Love isn't a one-time thing. You have plenty other people in this world who are just waiting for you and looking out for you like, I cannot wait to find my next soulmate, you know?
Just like, be open.
Yeah.
And that's like what I've said and what I've realized, that you don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You just have to and make that moment perfect.
Right.
So you should open your eyes that maybe sometimes you're just looking at a far direction and the person that's right for you is just around the corner, waiting for that person to notice you or something like that. So, you know, we don't know. Sometimes we found love in an unexpected place, in an unexpected moment. So just be open. And I think that's it. Just like when you're actually confident and when you're happy or when you're like you have peace of mind. I think also one thing is like most people when there's heartbreak, they wanted to seek closure to the other party. But I think sometimes there's instances where the closure you can just find it within yourself.
Right. Exactly.
Like you can cut communication to that person if it's like seeing that person or anything that is connected to that person hurts you. It's okay to navigate away and to like distance yourself to those things that reminds you of that person so you can fully move on. It depends on your coping strategy, coping mechanism, or ways of moving on. Whatever that is applicable to you, that works for you, you should do it. If you wanted to like cut really communications, even like the stuffed toys, the teddy bears or the pictures. So if you want to like put it on a box, donate it or like in the box and keep it, then so that you can see it, then do it.
Absolutely.
So you can forget that person.
Or if you do want to pursue a friendship with that person, be sure to give yourself some time or some space, because I know it can be difficult to just like get out of a relationship and then immediately the next day and be like, hey friend, because that's very hard to do. So yeah. Give yourself some space, focus on yourself, focus on any future projects you have, any passions you have. Like I said, throw yourself into your interests or throw yourself into your work, not on an unhealthy level, of course, but yeah, focus on you and try and grow in the most valuable way as possible so you are ready for the next relationship.
It's funny, like when you're talking about that, I kind of remember like this song of Dua Lipa called New Rules about like wanting to pick up the phone and something like that. So if like you can explore music that gives advices about doing heartbreak, then you can do it too. Like it really depends on the person,
right?
So whatever that works for you. And like but there are times sometimes that heartbreaks, even it's painful, they chose to remain friends because maybe they've been friends for a long time. So but do not rush yourself if you're not yet ready. Like have a communication with that person if you're fully ready already and if you're moved on. But if not, give yourself time. Do not like pressure yourself.
Absolutely.
Always, everything takes time.
Absolutely. Time heals all wounds, as they say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think with that being said, if everything does get too hard for you to handle, because I know that heartbreaks, especially if you were like in a 10-year relationship and you broke up, it can be very, very hard to deal with. So if you are struggling severely, do be sure to get help outside of that, whether that is from family, friends, or a therapist, a support group. So just take care of yourself, and it will get better with time, even if it doesn't feel like it sometimes. So anything you want to say before we close out this episode?
I think, just for all those people out there experiencing heartbreaks or pains or like kind of lose hope about love, always remember that there's still hope. It's just that as long as you navigate around living and journeying life, you'll find that the one for you. You'll find that right person for you. It doesn't mean that you don't have it now. You will never have it. Right. Just continue hoping and searching, and you write your own love story, make the most of it. Then doesn't mean that the first relationship, second relationship doesn't work, the third will not work. You just have to actually just love again and fall in love again. Not be scared to love again, because it's a wonderful feeling.
Absolutely. Man, I love that we ended on a positive note. Sometimes we don't get to do that on these episodes, so it's nice. But just to close out this episode, thank you all for listening, of course. Thank you, Aubrey, for coming on this podcast. It was amazing. Just to close out, as I said, our website is bloompod.wixsite.com/our.org. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Forever Blooming Org, or on Twitter at Forever Bloom Org. And you can also find Aubrey on...
you can find Life Talks with Aubrey Nicole on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. And then the link there, under Linktree, you can have more than 10 platforms you can listen to the different episodes. Where also Jordyn has an episode with me on self-confidence and self-growth, which you can check out. Then if you have any questions or you want any advices, just feel free to message me and I'll answer it as soon as I can.
Absolutely, and we will be sure to definitely have all that in the link in the description if you guys don't want to look that up. So the research and transcript for this episode is on our website in our extra section. Our podcast guest form, if you want to be on my podcast like Aubrey here, is also in our episode section, and you can also fill out our audience spotlight form if you want to have any advice featured on our episode. management@foreverbloompod.org is our email if you want to email to us. Let us know your thoughts, opinions, and questions, or how we can improve the podcast, because we love hearing from you. Be sure to check out fborg.card.co, and that is card with 2 R's, for all of our easy, accessible links. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, rate us on Spotify, and share with your friends if you enjoyed this episode. And lastly, have a great day, afternoon, or night whenever you're listening to this. Thanks for tuning in.